allegedly obtained official recognition and gained access to government's processes despite questions over its legal status. Chairman of the committee, Yusuf Gadgi, declined to comment on the progress of the investigation, saying public disclosure at this stage could undermine the process. The development has raised concerns over the recent step in the probe, particularly after the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission concluded its own investigation and cleared the presidency of involvement in the alleged establishment of the council. At its last sitting, the committee reviewed documents and testimonies from government institutions concerning the operations and recognition of the purported council. The presidency has announced that public submissions of the proposed national policing bill will close at 5 p.m. today, August 13. The bill seeks to provide a legal framework for the establishment of state police. Chief of Staff to the President and Chairman of the Presidential Working Group on the bill, Femi Gbajabiamila, said the consultation is designed to gather the views and expertise of Nigerians. He also said the submissions would help address concerns including political interference, police misconduct, oversight, and intelligence sharing between federal and state police. Time to turn to other stories for you now. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories here on the news. Do stay with us. Time to take a look at other stories. So, Ondo State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Olukayode Ajulo has warned traditional rulers against turning their palaces into courts or detention centers. Ajulo gave the warning in Akure, the state capital, during a 3-day workshop organized for traditional rulers by the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. He urged monarchs to exercise their authority within the provisions of the Constitution and other relevant laws. He said traditional rulers operate within a constitutional democracy and must recognize the distinction between customary authority and powers reserved for courts, the police, and other statutory institutions. Ajulo said traditional institutions should focus on preserving culture, promoting peace, mediating disputes, and mobilizing communities for development. Bandits have killed 2 people and abducted 11 others in a separate attack on Taloka and Duhuda communities in Goronyo local government area of Sokoto State. A resident of Taloka said the attackers, numbering dozens and riding about 20 motorcycles, invaded the community around midnight on Tuesday. The attackers reportedly went from house to house after residents were alerted by gunshots. The bandits first targeted a room where several youths usually slept, abducting one of them after others managed to escape. They later invaded the residence of Alhaji Yusuf, abducting him, his daughter, and daughter-in-law. One of his nephews, identified as Abdullahi Dan Almajiri, was reportedly killed during the attack. We go on a quick break to return with more stories for you on Skyline News Drive. We appreciate you for staying with us. And now time to turn to business for you on the news. The federal government has stressed the need for Africa to maximize its vast energy resources to end the cycle of exporting raw materials and importing finished products at higher costs. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Heineken Lukobiri, who made the call at the West Africa Refined Fuel Market Conference in Abuja, says energy sovereignty is achievable if African countries develop their refining capacity and invest in value addition. Here are details by Nafisat Baba.
Heineken stated that the reforms in Nigeria's petroleum sectors have opened the door for increased investment and renewed confidence in the industry. He further noted that Africa's dependence on imported refined products must end, urging that crude oil should be processed locally to create jobs, strengthen energy security, and retain wealth within the continent. He also challenged investors to take advantage of Nigeria's emerging opportunities and the huge African market. He called for stronger collaboration among government, regulators, and private sector players, adding that clear rules, effective regulation, and investor confidence are critical to attracting the technology and capital needed to expand refining capacity.
In collaboration with S&P in the global for sustaining this program. Not just Nigeria, but the entire African continent, not just West Africa too. The midstream and downstream is completely deregulated, and that is why we can see renewed interest of leaders in the industry converging here for this conference. The reason why that was done was to unlock the sector to enable Nigeria and Africa achieve the full potentials that exist in that sector.
The Chief Executive Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Rabiu Omar, noted that West Africa must urgently build the infrastructure and market system required to turn its growing petroleum resources into greater economic power. The authority said West Africa must urgently invest in refineries, pipeline storage, ports and transport infrastructure while improving digital trading system. He noted that regional cooperation is equally critical, warning that different product standards, licensing rules, tariffs, and cross-border procedures are slowly energy trade and driving up costs.
Our infrastructure conversation must therefore encompass the entire value chain. Refineries, pipelines, storage, terminals, jetties, ports, rail and road networks, marine logistics, strategic reserves, and digital trading platforms. The objective is infrastructure that reduces the cost of moving energy, increasing our energy security, and improving inventory visibility, and expanding the number of credible market participants, and creating the physical liquidity upon which transparent pricing depends.
With refining capacity expanding and major facilities such as Dangote Refinery shipping the market, Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says the opportunity is now within the reach for Africa to become a credible center of petroleum trading and price discovery. Nafisa Baba for Skyline News.
Development and Monitoring Board has urged oil and gas industry stakeholders to embrace its new digital platform to improve efficiency, transparency, and competitiveness. Executive Secretary of the Board, Felix Ogbe, made a call in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, during the unveiling of the platform. Represented by the board's manager, Emmanuel Yusuf, Ogbe said the success of the initiative would depend on its adoption and active participation by industry stakeholders. He said the new portal would simplify the compliance certification process, which had previously been handled manually and often resulted in delays lasting several days. The initiative was unveiled during a stakeholders sensitization program organized in partnership with the Bank of Industry and the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. Nigeria's crude oil production has fallen by 4% month-on-month in July, despite the country continuing to produce above its OPEC quota. Data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission showed that Nigeria produced an average of 1,505,000 barrels of crude oil per day in July, alongside 0.17 million barrels per day. This brought total daily production to about 1.67 million barrels. The decline was attributed partly to operational challenges at the Era and Akba fields. Meanwhile, vessel traffic through the strategically important Strait of Hormuz dropped to its lowest level in a week amid heightened tensions in the Middle East, adding concerns over global oil supply and shipping. And back home, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it has recovered more than 115 billion naira and $84 million in outstanding statutory levies owed to the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, by oil companies. The disclosure was made before the Senate Public Accounts Committee, chaired by Senator Ibrahim Dakwambo, during its investigation into issues raised in the 2021-2023 Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative Oil and Gas Industry Audit Report. Representing the EFCC, Francis Usani said the commission investigated 43 oil companies following queries raised in the NATI audit. Said 24 companies operating in the Niger Delta were found to have outstanding liabilities arising from the 3% statutory levy payable to the NDDC. The federal government has unveiled the National Agricultural Mechanization Policy and the National Agricultural Mechanization Investment Strategy as part of efforts to modernize farming and boost food production. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, disclosed this in Abuja at a high-level national policy dialogue on agricultural mechanization. The minister said the government plans to establish a mega tractor assembly plant capable of producing between 2,000 and 4,000 tractors annually. He also noted that the two policy instruments are designed to move Nigeria from agricultural potential to becoming an agricultural powerhouse while addressing the country's mechanization deficit and strengthening food sovereignty. Efforts to improve road safety in Ogun State have received a boost following renewed collaboration between Dangote Cement PLC, Ibese plant, and the Federal Road Safety Corps. The Ibese plant received the newly deployed Ogun State Sector Commander of the FRSC, Corps Commander Oludare Ogunjobi, and members of his management team during a courtesy visit. The management focused on strategies to improve road safety awareness, drive competence, and compliance with the traffic regulations across the state. Ogunjobi commended Dangote Cement for its continued support for the FRSC and its contribution to road safety initiatives. He describes the company as one of the Corps' reliable corporate partners, citing its commitments to safety and responsible transportation practices. The federal government says it will continue to collaborate with the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria in its effort to build a more professional, responsible, and globally competitive advertising industry. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, gave the assurance during the inauguration of the newly constituted Advertising Offences Tribunal. Our correspondent Nafisat Baba has the rest of the story.
Mohammed Idris stated that the federal government recognizes that advertising is far more than the promotion of products and services, describing it as a powerful instrument of communication. He commended members of the tribunal, noting that collectively they possess the experience, professional competence, and institutional understanding required for the responsibility. The minister said the rules governing advertising are not merely written on paper, but can be meaningfully applied when violations occur. He stated that Section 37, subsection 1 of the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria Act established the tribunal to adjudicate offences created under the Act, the Code of Advertising Practice, Standard of Practice, proclamations, and other relevant enactments made under the law. Idris said Nigeria has one of the Africa's largest and most dynamic advertising and marketing communications ecosystem, with enormous potential to contribute to economic growth, employment, innovation, and investment. Nafisa Baba, Skyline TV News.
We're going to quick break again. When we return, we'll look at entertainment and foreign stories for you. Please stay with us. With entertainment, Afrobeat star David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has declared himself a die-hard fan of Portuguese football legend Cristiano Ronaldo. Davido made the disclosure during a live stream with Nigerian content creator and streamer Carter Efe. The singer said his support for Portugal was influenced by his friendship with members of the national team. He also claims that he communicates regularly with Ronaldo, describing the five-time Ballon d'Or winner as a legend. Nigerian disc jockey and billionaire heiress Florence Otedola, popularly known as DJ Kapi, says she cannot marry a Nigerian. The comment has sparked reactions on social media following the resurfacing of an interview in which he had discussed love, relationships, and her experiences with men. Kapi said her family background and celebrity status had often overshadowed her relationships. She also recalled an experience with a former partner who, according to her, appeared more interested in meeting her father than building a relationship with her. Afro house singer Niniola is set to return to the music scene with an emotional new single titled Raining. Odumi, the song, scheduled for release this Friday, comes months after the death of her husband, Michael Indika. Niniola is using the new record to express her grief and emotions as she gradually makes her return to music. The release marks a significant comeback for the singer, who stepped away from the spotlight following her personal loss. The song is expected to reveal a more vulnerable and deeply personal side of the usually energetic performer as she channels the experience of loss into music. On the foreign scene, South African music star Tyler is set to receive another major honor in her home country. The Grammy-winning singer will be presented with the International Achievement Award at the 32nd South African Music Awards, scheduled to take place this weekend. The award recognizes Tyler's growing international influence and the global impact of her music. Her success, particularly the worldwide popularity of her distinctive sound, has helped bring greater attention to South African music on the international stage. Tyler's appearance at the ceremony is expected to further celebrate her rapid rise and growing influence in the global music industry. Hollywood legend Sir Anthony Hopkins has launched a new chapter in his career at the age of 88 with the release of his debut classical album, Life is a Dream. The Oscar-winning actor's album features 12 original compositions created over 6 decades. The project was recorded with the Philomena Orchestra and conducted by a Grammy-winning maestro Gustavo Dudamel. Hopkins, who began playing the piano at the age of 4, has long described music as his first love. Life is a Dream, scheduled for official release on August 21, giving audiences an opportunity to experience another side of the celebrated actor's creative career. The revelation has since generated debates across social media. And now on the foreign scene, Moroccan authorities say they have strengthened security measures along the country's border with the Spanish North African territory of Ceuta to prevent another mass influx of migrants. Moroccan Interior Ministry spokesman Richard El Khalfa said all necessary measures had been taken to counter attempts at illegal border crossings and intercept anyone seeking to participate. The move follows renewed calls on social media for another mass crossing into Ceuta. Late last month, about 72,000 people, mostly Moroccans, reportedly entered the territory irregularly over several days. Most of the migrants have since been returned across the border to Morocco. Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, has warned that the ongoing Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo could become the deadliest outbreak of the disease ever recorded. Tedros said the 2026 outbreak is currently spreading at a pace that could surpass the 2014 to 2016 Ebola outbreak, which killed at least 11,000 people. The outbreak, declared on May 15, has so far recorded at least 4,300 cases and more than 2,000 deaths. The WHO further says it hopes to bring transmission under control within 3 months, but stressed that this would not necessarily mean the complete end of the outbreak. More than 70,000 Canadians have signed an online petition calling for the expulsion of the United States ambassador to Canada, Pete Hofstra, over allegations that he has undermined diplomatic relations between both countries. The petition accuses Hofstra of repeatedly intervening in Canadian political affairs and normalizing the Trump administration's threat to annex Canada as the 51st U.S. state. The U.S. Embassy in Ottawa confirmed it was aware of the petition but declined to comment further. The development comes as Canada and the United States continue intensive trade negotiations, with both sides seeking an agreement before new U.S. tariffs take effect next Wednesday. 2 people have been killed after a U.S. military helicopter crashed in Central Texas. The victims were pronounced dead at the scene after police responded to an emergency call concerning wreckage